There are 10 physiological switches inside your body, and tonight, while you sleep, every single one of them is either working for you or silently working against you. Some of them are things you do in the morning. Some of them happen in the 2 hours before you even close your eyes, and at least 2 of them are so counterintuitive that most people, even people who obsess over their health, are doing them completely backwards. Here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. If you wake up tired, if you're doing everything right with your diet and your workouts and your supplements, and you still can't seem to lose that last layer of fat or feel genuinely sharp by noon, the problem is not your willpower. The problem is not your metabolism being broken. The problem is that your sleep is quietly sabotaging your hormones in the dark, and nobody told you the exact protocol to stop it. By the end of this episode, you will have all 10 switches, not vague advice, not try to get more sleep, the precise, clinically grounded steps that decode what your body is actually doing between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., and how to make those hours the most productive biological hours of your entire day. Stay with me. This one changes things. Welcome to VitaWave. I'm Dr. Elias Site. And if you're new here, I want you to understand something about this channel from the very first minute. We don't do surface-level health advice here. We don't chase trends. We don't treat symptoms like they're the enemy. At VitaWave, we operate from one core belief. Health is not a destination. It's a rhythm you learn to ride. We don't just treat symptoms. We decode your biological waves to turn back the clock from the inside out. And tonight's protocol, the sleep protocol, is one of the most important rhythms we have ever broken down on this channel. Because sleep is not passive. Sleep is when your body runs its most sophisticated repair programs. It's when your hormones reset. It's when your brain consolidates everything you learned that day and flushes out the metabolic waste that builds up between your neurons. When sleep goes wrong, everything goes wrong. And most people don't even notice until the weight won't move, the energy won't come, and the blood work starts to shift in the wrong direction. So let's fix that. Let's go through all 10, and I promise you, by fix number 5, something's going to click that you've never heard articulated this way before. Fix 1. Align your internal clock with light before your phone. Let's start at the very beginning, and I mean the very beginning, because this fix doesn't happen at night. It happens the moment you wake up. Your circadian rhythm is governed by a tiny cluster of neurons in your hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Think of it as your body's master conductor. It tells every organ in your body what time it is. It controls when your cortisol peaks in the morning, when your melatonin begins to rise at night, and critically, it regulates your hunger hormones, your insulin sensitivity, and your resting metabolic rate throughout the entire day. And here's what most people get catastrophically wrong. They let artificial light, their phone, their overhead LEDs, their laptop, set that clock before natural light ever gets a chance to. The fix is simple, but the biology behind it is extraordinary. Within 10 minutes of waking, you need natural sunlight entering your eyes. Not through glass, not from a blue light lamp on your nightstand. Real outdoor light, even on a cloudy day, delivers 10 to 50 times more photon intensity than your average indoor environment. That morning light exposure suppresses residual melatonin, triggers a calibrated cortisol spike, the good kind, the kind that gives you clarity and drive, and essentially tells your suprachiasmatic nucleus, day has begun, start the clock. When that clock starts correctly in the morning, your melatonin will begin rising at the right time in the evening. Your hunger hormones, ghrelin, the one that makes you hungry, and leptin, the one that signals fullness, will follow a rhythmic, predictable pattern rather than the chaotic swings that drive late-night cravings and metabolic dysfunction. 10 minutes, outside, before the phone. That's fix number 1. Fix number 2 is defend your wake time like your metabolism depends on it. Fix number 2 is one that people constantly underestimate, and it's this: your wake time matters more than your bedtime.
I know that sounds backwards. We're always told to focus on when we go to sleep, but from a circadian biology standpoint, your wake time is the anchor. It's the fixed point around which your entire hormonal rhythm organizes itself. When your wake time is consistent, even on weekends, your body begins to anticipate it. Cortisol starts rising about 30 minutes before you open your eyes. Your core body temperature begins climbing. Your digestive system starts preparing for the day. Every organ system gets the signal simultaneously. But when your wake time shifts by 2 or 3 hours on Saturday and Sunday, what researchers now call social jet lag, it's the metabolic equivalent of flying from New York to London and back every week. Your ghrelin and leptin go completely out of sync. Your insulin sensitivity drops. Your fat-burning enzyme activity, specifically HSL, hormone-sensitive lipase, becomes blunted. And you feel it. You feel it as that sluggish, foggy Sunday afternoon. You feel it as that inexplicable hunger at 11 p.m. You feel it as the inexplicable plateau on the scale, even when your calorie count is perfectly tracked. Defend your wake time. It is the single most powerful chronobiological lever you have. Make it non-negotiable, 365 days a year. Fix number 3, the 4-hour fasting window before bed. Now let's talk about food, specifically the food you're eating in the hours before you sleep, because this is where I see even the most disciplined health enthusiasts completely undermine their nighttime biology. Here's the core principle. Your body cannot simultaneously run its nighttime repair programs and actively digest a meal. These are competing biological priorities. When food is in your system, especially carbohydrate-heavy food, your insulin is elevated. Elevated insulin at night is a biological stop signal for 2 critical processes: human growth hormone secretion and autophagic repair. HGH, human growth hormone, is released in its largest pulse during the first 90 minutes of deep sleep. This is the pulse that drives fat metabolism, muscle preservation, cellular regeneration, and collagen synthesis. But insulin and HGH operate on a seesaw. When one is up, the other is suppressed. The 4-hour fasting window before sleep is the buffer that allows insulin to return to baseline so that when you enter deep sleep, your HGH pulse can fire at full amplitude. This doesn't mean starving yourself. It means having your last substantial meal by 6 or 7 p.m. if you're sleeping at 10 or 11. A small handful of walnuts, a few olives, or a modest serving of protein like Greek yogurt close to the window are fine. They won't spike insulin significantly.
But the pasta, the rice bowl, the late-night snack at 9:30, that is a direct tax on your hormonal recovery. 4 hours. That's fix number 3. And for many people, this single change produces visible metabolic results within 2 weeks. Fix 4. The magnesium biglycinate combination for true deep sleep. Fix number 4 is where nutrition and neuroscience meet, and is one of my favorite topics to break down because the mechanism is so elegant. Most people think of sleep supplements and immediately think of melatonin. And while melatonin has its place in specific contexts, the chronic nightly use of melatonin supplements in normal functioning adults actually downregulates your brain's natural melatonin receptors over time. You become dependent on an external signal for a process your body is designed to run on its own. Instead, what the most current sleep science points to, and this is supported by multiple randomized controlled trials, is the combination of magnesium biglycinate and glycine. Here's why. Magnesium activates the GABA receptors in your brain, GABA being the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, the neurological brakes that quiet the constant chatter of your nervous system at night. Most adults are chronically deficient in magnesium, not because they're not eating well, but because modern agricultural soil depletion has dramatically reduced the magnesium content in food over the last 40 years. Glycine, an amino acid found in collagen-rich foods, does something fascinating.
It directly lowers your core body temperature by redirecting blood flow to your extremities, and core body temperature drop is the physiological trigger for the transition into deep restorative sleep stages. In clinical trials, 3 grams of glycine taken 30 minutes before bed reduced time to sleep onset, increased slow-wave sleep, and reduced daytime fatigue without any grogginess the next morning. Together, magnesium biglycinate at a dose of 300 to 400 milligrams combined with 3 grams of glycine creates the neurological and thermal environment that your body needs to drop into genuine deep sleep, not just unconsciousness, but biologically productive sleep. That's fix number 4. Fix 5. And this is one that I want you to really sit with, because when I explain the why behind this, it reframes your entire relationship with your bedroom environment. Your body's ability to enter and maintain the deepest, most metabolically productive stages of sleep is almost entirely dependent on one environmental variable: temperature. Specifically, your core body temperature must drop by approximately 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius from its daytime peak in order to initiate and sustain deep sleep architecture. And this drop is facilitated or blocked directly by your ambient room temperature. The clinically validated target is 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That's approximately 18.3 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, your body's thermoregulatory system can efficiently offload heat through your skin. Your blood vessels dilate, your skin surface warms slightly as heat is released, and your core temperature falls into the precise range that activates the delta brainwave patterns associated with slow-wave sleep, the sleep stage where HGH is released, where memories consolidate, where inflammatory cytokines are cleared, and where insulin sensitivity is actively restored for the next day. If your bedroom is too warm, even by 3 or 4 degrees, your body is fighting all night to cool down. You cycle through sleep stages more frequently. You spend less time in the stages that actually restore you. You wake up feeling like you slept but didn't recover. Set the thermostat. 65 degrees. This is not a preference. This is a biological requirement. That's fix number 5. Fix 6. Eliminate the 2 invisible disruptors most people never consider. Fix 6 is about 2 things that are almost never discussed in mainstream sleep content, and yet for people who have optimized everything else and still feel like their sleep isn't delivering, these 2 factors are almost always the culprit. The first is non-native electromagnetic field exposure. The Wi-Fi router on your nightstand, the phone plugged in 3 feet from your head, the smart speaker on your dresser. Multiple peer-reviewed studies, including a significant body of research from the Bioelectromagnetics Journal, have documented that low-level RF electromagnetic fields can fragment sleep architecture, suppress melatonin biosynthesis by up to 40%, and reduce mitochondrial efficiency in cells that are actively running repair processes during sleep. The fix? Charge your phone outside your bedroom. Turn your Wi-Fi router off at night or put it on a timer. These are not dramatic lifestyle changes. They are simple environmental upgrades that remove a real physiological stressor from your most vulnerable biological hours. The second invisible disruptor is blue light, specifically the blue wavelength spectrum between 460 and 480 nanometers that is emitted by virtually every LED screen, overhead light, and street light. This wavelength directly inhibits the enzyme aromatic L-amino acid decarboxylase, which is required to convert L-tryptophan into serotonin and ultimately into melatonin. 2 hours before bed, dim the lights. Use amber or red spectrum bulbs in your bedroom. Wear blue light blocking glasses with a true amber lens, not the faint yellow ones that barely make a difference. These are not luxury health hacks. They are the restoration of a light environment that your nervous system evolved inside of over hundreds of thousands of years. Remove the interference. That's fix number 6. Fix 7 is something I want you to think of not as a supplement to sleep, but as a bridge, a physiological bridge between the high-demand state of your waking day and the repair state of your sleeping night. The research coming out of Dr. Andrew Huberman's lab at Stanford around what they've termed non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, has been transformative for understanding how the nervous system transitions between states. The core finding is this: deliberately guiding your brain into a low alpha, high theta brainwave state for 10 to 20 minutes through structured relaxation, body scan protocols, or specific forms of yoga nidra accelerates the natural decline in cortisol that needs to happen before sleep becomes restorative. More importantly, NSDR has been shown to restore dopamine levels in the striatum, the brain region responsible for motivation, anticipation, and reward, in a way that is actually more efficient than napping. This matters for sleep because when dopamine is dysregulated going into the night, the brain struggles to release the day. You lie in bed mentally cycling through the afternoon's problems because your brain's reward circuits are still online, still anticipating, still unresolved. Pair your NSDR practice with binaural beats in the theta range delivered through headphones.
Theta waves are the neurological signature of the hypogonagic state, the threshold between wakefulness and sleep. Training your brain to reach this state intentionally at will is one of the most powerful sleep quality upgrades you can make without any supplement or device. 10 minutes, headphones, eyes closed before your final wind down. That's fix number 7. Fix 8, nasal breathing and the oxygen advantage. Fix number 8 might be the one that surprises you the most because it's not about what you do before sleep, it's about what's happening during sleep that you're completely unaware of. The majority of adults breathe through their mouths during sleep. And mouth breathing during sleep, even mild, subclinical mouth breathing that never rises to the level of diagnosed sleep apnea, creates a cascade of metabolic disturbances that are only now being fully understood. When you breathe through your mouth during sleep, you bypass the nasal passages that are responsible for filtering, humidifying, warming, and critically, adding nitric oxide to the air you breathe. Nasal breathing generates 14 to 15% higher oxygen saturation in the blood compared to mouth breathing because nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator that allows your blood vessels to carry more oxygen to your cells. Lower oxygen saturation during sleep means your cells are running repair programs under energetic stress. Your cardiovascular system works harder, your CO2 tolerance drops, and perhaps most critically from a metabolic standpoint, sleep-disordered breathing, even at sub-apnea levels, increases nighttime cortisol release, blocks HGH secretion, and drives insulin resistance. The intervention is simple. Nasal strips to open the nasal passages, combined with gentle mouth taping using a specific medical-grade lip tape applied vertically, not covering the full mouth, but training lip closure. Start with just the lip tape and assess your mornings. Many people report dramatically improved energy, reduced nighttime waking, and less morning grogginess within the first week. This is fix number 8, and it costs less than $5. Fix 9, the digital sunset ritual. Fix number 9 is behavioral, and I say that not to minimize it. Behavioral interventions that are well designed are every bit as powerful as biochemical ones. In fact, this one directly impacts your dopaminergic system in a way that no supplement can replicate. Here is what is happening in your brain when you scroll through social media, check email, or watch stimulating video content in the 90 minutes before bed. Every notification, every swipe, every piece of novel content, your brain releases a small pulse of dopamine. And dopamine, while it feels pleasant, is fundamentally a chemical of anticipation. It keeps your nervous system in a state of alert readiness. It prevents the natural decline of norepinephrine and cortisol that must occur for your sleep drive to fully activate. The result? You lie down, you're physically tired, but your brain is chemically primed for continued stimulation. Sleep onset is delayed. The first sleep cycle, which should be your deepest, is shortened. And the hormonal cascade that was supposed to begin in that first cycle doesn't fire at full strength. The 10-minute digital sunset is your solution. At the same time each evening, 90 minutes before your target sleep time, every screen goes off. Not dimmed, off. Replace the screen with something that requires no novel information processing. A physical book, a gentle stretching routine, a conversation, journaling, or simply sitting in low amber light. This is not just winding down. This is a deliberate neurochemical rebalancing that prepares the precise brain state required for your first deep sleep cycle to fire correctly. That's fix number 9. Fix 10, building your biofeedback system.
Fix number 10 is where everything comes together, and it's the one that separates people who try a sleep protocol for 2 weeks from people who transform their biology for life. The missing piece for most people is feedback. They make changes, they feel vaguely better, but they have no objective signal telling them whether the protocol is actually working at a physiological level, and no system for adjusting when it stops working. In 2026, we're living in the golden age of consumer biometric technology. Devices like the Oura Ring Generation 4, the Whoop 5.0, and the Garmin Fenix 8 series give you access to data that was previously only available in clinical sleep labs. Heart rate variability, deep sleep duration, REM cycle architecture, respiratory rate trends, nighttime skin temperature deviation, and next-day readiness scores. Heart rate variability, HRV, is your most important metric. It is a direct window into your autonomic nervous system balance, and it correlates powerfully with metabolic health, hormonal recovery, and cardiovascular resilience. When your protocol is working, your HRV trends upward over weeks. When you've had a poor night quality, too much light, a late meal, elevated stress, it drops, and you can see exactly which variable was the cause. Track your data weekly, not nightly. Single night HRV can be noisy. Weekly averages tell the real story. Adjust one variable at a time, room temperature, meal timing, magnesium dose, and observe the effect over 10 to 14 days before changing another. This is evidence-based self-optimization. This is how you build a protocol that is tuned specifically to your biology, not a generic template, but a living adaptive system. And seasonally, adjust for light. In winter months, when morning light is later and dimmer, move your outdoor light exposure inside within the first 30 minutes after waking using a 10,000 lux therapy lamp. In summer, protect evening light exposure rigorously. The extended daylight will push your melatonin release later than your bedtime, which will fragment your sleep if uncorrected. The goal is a self-reinforcing cycle. Better sleep produces better hormone balance. Better hormone balance produces higher daytime energy and drive. Higher daytime energy and drive produces more movement, better food choices, more consistent routines, and more consistent routines produce better sleep. Round and round, not as a struggle, but as a rhythm. A biological wave you learn to ride. That's fix number 10. Let me bring this all back to where we started. 10 switches, and most people, most intelligent, health-conscious people, are leaving at least 4 or 5 of them in the wrong position every single night. The circadian morning anchor, the consistent wake time, the 4-hour nutritional buffer, the magnesium glycine protocol, the 65-degree environment, the electromagnetic and light field cleanup, the neural transition practice, the nasal breathing correction, the digital sunset ritual, and the biofeedback system that makes all of it measurable, adjustable, and yours. These are not trends. These are not biohacks from someone selling you a product. These are the fundamental biological requirements of a human organism that was designed to sleep deeply, repair completely, and wake up metabolically charged.
And here is what I want to leave you with tonight, because this is the part that matters most. You don't have to implement all 10 tonight. Pick the one that hits you the hardest, the one where you thought, that's me. That's exactly what I've been doing wrong. Start there. Do it with precision and commitment for 2 weeks, then add the next one. Health is not a destination. It's not a finish line you cross. It's a rhythm, a daily, nightly, seasonal rhythm that you learn to read, to ride, and to restore when it gets disrupted. And that's what we do here at VitaWave, every week, together. If this episode gave you something real, something you're going to actually act on, do one thing for me. Share it with one person who needs to hear it. Not for the algorithm, for them. Because the person in your life who is exhausted and frustrated and doing everything right except the things we covered today, they deserve this information. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment below telling me which of the 10 fixes you're starting with. I read every single one. And I'll see you in the next episode. This is VitaWave. I'm Dr. Elias Site. Sleep well, recover deeply, and ride the wave.